right, folks. So we just finished watching episodes 3 and 4 of Wonder Man, and yeah, that fourth episode completely dedicated to understanding why the that clause that they asked Simon about if he has any superpowers in episode 1. We now know the cause of it, and especially what happened in Hollywood um pertaining to Damar, the doorman. And now the not so I initially thought it was a band, but they the way they worded it at the very last second is that if you want to have superheroes, you're going to have it, the insurance like clauses are going to be astronomical. So it kind of makes it nearly not worth it, unless you can insure having superheroes. And like it's like I said, I can understand why they would put a clause like that, because at the end of the day, not we already know, even this is the Marvel universe anyway, and not every human has superpowers, or there's not superpowers for everybody. It's not like My Hero, or some of these other superhero series that we watch, where there's the majority of people have superpowers and people don't have superpowers. And as they're incorporating it into Hollywood, for instances like what happened between Damar and Jay Grub,
Josh Gad, but Jay
Josh
Gad,
Jay
Josh
Gad,
Gad. Yeah.
yeah, between those two, for them to prevent that, from those types of accidents from happening, especially because no one knew the depths of his powers. And of course, not even Damar, even, I mean, hey, Mans was drunk. He clearly was not in his right mind. But even with circumstances like that, nobody's going to look at any of the finer details. They're only going to look at the fact that, hey, you have superpowers. Your superpowers has made somebody disappear in front of multiple people, and that's the only thing that is going to matter. Even if the context, like say between lawsuits and the way that the laws work, in quotation marks, in the world, there it's still going to come down to his fault, no matter what else caused it. It's like, hey, you should have been more responsible with your abilities and your powers. You should have learned the full extent of your abilities, because I guess the time frame from him using this to when, like, learning, like when he had the ability, all the way until when that incident occurred, probably over a year. Because if you're thinking about the number of, well, actually probably even longer than that, because for them to get from the first movie to get to the second movie, right, that's got to be years. We're talking years, because these movies don't take, they don't happen in the span of like months in production wise. So I'm going to assume this is over the course of at least 3 years, 3 to 4 years, from meteoric rise to where you have the turning point of, hey man, this is getting played out and whatnot. So you would expect, like, because if this was only like a few months, right, or even a few weeks, then you could be like, yeah, you could give him the benefit of doubt for not really knowing the full extent of his abilities, or learning about what will happen if I'm drunk slash irresponsible with my abilities and whatnot. But for what we got in this 30-minute episode, was the complete arc of the rise and fall of a celebrity, the celebrity with superpowers. And the Department of Damage Control, so far what we've seen about them is they do research, and they assess threats essentially, and they, different like types of threat levels to people who they suspect of having superpowers. Or even if you are out in the open and you have superpowers, it seems that, like, because they just, that I was wondering the entire time while this episode was going on, whether or not the Department of Damage Control was just going to step in and just stop him, like, from doing anything, similar to how they've been assessing Simon. But then when you go back to episode 3, they've been aware of Simon since he was 13, and they just seen the instances with his powers. And
I I wonder. I don't think that that's the case.
yeah,
I think
it,
not since he was 13, but have done their research together. I think
mm,
the DODC is a newer department
mm,
in the Marvel universe.
mm,
Sorry, in the MCU. I don't know
mm,
if it's like a ready. I don't know if it's a thing that existed because, let's say, okay, so like there's,
mm,
let's say MCU timeline, right? We'll make it like real
mm,
easy MCU timeline. So we have the first instance of a super soldier with Captain
mm,
America, right?
mm,
Then nothing for a really long time until Iron Man. And in Iron Man is all that Roxxon stuff.
mm,
So what, let's say Simon's in his 30s, right? Um so I think the DODC is a newer department of the government
mm,
because of all the instances since um maybe maybe Iron Man 2 or 3, but even then
mm,
I really would have to whiteboard it to timeline it. I know there's
mm,
someone out there who's already done it because
yeah,
since the show's been out for over a week, I know one of you see has already
yeah,
done it, so I can't wait to look at it. But I think what the DODC has done is it's just since this incident with Damar and all the instances with the other superheroes and superpowered individuals,
yeah,
they were created and started looking for instances and like police reports or news reports of people who may or may not have had superpowers. So I
mm,
think the Damar situation is what propelled the DODC to be more so in the spotlight. But again, I could be wrong. Someone in the comments,
mm,
please correct me. The MCU has been going on for so long. If the DODC has been mentioned before, I sure as
yeah.
fuck don't can't like I just don't remember it.
In regards to why uh like Simon is the way he is and how I felt about, like, I understand why the society has now placed the restrictions on superheroes being in the entertainment industry or in movie industry itself, mainly because the policing of powers. And I was trying to see when the DODC was going to intervene with Doorman. They never did, because they never saw him as a threat until he became a threat himself. And at first, when they were explaining that, there's a superhero ban on this, I was just like, okay, I can see. But then, at the very end, they was like, yes, because if you're going to, it's not so much a superhero ban, it's just that the insurance required to allow a superhero is going to be astronomically high, because we cannot predict, and nobody knows unless they were to give a full disclosure of their own power, what they are capable of and the risks that are associated with it. So if you were to, let's say, have a superhero like Rogue act in your movie, and you want to have a kiss scene with Rogue, it ain't happening. It's not happening. Like that
I
risk,
mean,
yeah,
she
she
wouldn't
wouldn't do.
go apply
I'm
for
just
those
saying.
jobs anyway.
I'm
But
just saying. Yeah, yes, yes.
all right,
Obviously, but I'm just saying. Like, we just know that it ain't happening. If you want to have a role where Cyclops has to look into your eyes as you gaze upon the sunset, it ain't happening. Your whole head is gone, right? Like, it's like there's certain things that, of course, superheroes, with as great powers that they have, like, can cause catastrophes to happen. It's accidents do happen, but these are accidents that like carry the ultimate price for a lot of people at the end of the day. So I understand why they put that role in, and for him, he's just like, listen, man, if people know I got superpowers, it's GG's for me. Not it's the end of it's the For him, it's the end of his life, because for him, acting is life. And if people know that he has superpowers, with the way that the doorman situation happened, he can not be an actor, because no studio is going to want to pay for that high of a price to insure the insurance for him. And then if he gets pissed off, he can't control his emotions. And we already saw what he did it in episode 3 by destroying, unfortunately, the kitchen table. His older brother is a dick. He's jaded, but as we also just now saw, that the only people that knew about his abilities was his family. But still doesn't excuse his brother for being a dick, period, and trying to have this "I'm better than you" attitude. We already know family members that do that, and it never gets better. It never gets better because jealousy is a bitch at the end of the day. And to see his brother like that, and obviously Trevor is looking at this and he makes a decision to, throw away the, with the recordings and whatnot. Good man, Trevor. It's gonna come to bite him back in the ass. But the fact that he's like, listen, man, I'd rather go to jail. Subconsciously, that's the decision he made. I'd rather go to jail than to turn this man in for whatever these people have planned. They've already made it very apparent that they've been dissecting Doorman like no tomorrow, to figure out why and where is your boy Jay. I'm not gonna say his name. I'm about to call him J Rug now. Jesus Christ. Yeah, but your boy Jay, they don't know where that man's at. He gone. Um, so yeah. All in all, I'm liking Wonder Man. I'm liking where we have. I was surprised that we had a whole episode dedicated to, Doorman, but I mean, it just shows you the rise and fall of celebrities and what can happen when you ride everything to meteoric heights. Don't take care of your finances, because nobody's really going to tell you how to take care of your finances. You're going to be as hot, and people will ride you and then throw you away and discard you. We know, we seen it,
Mhm.
in the industries we've been in, and hell, it's kind of funny that this is coming from Marvel because that's what they do with some of their actors and
Mhm.
their TV shows. Hey man, we're gonna ride you all the way, and then when you become a nothing, useless or worthless to people, then they throw you away, and then they go to probably give you a bone until you fuck up, and one time, right, and then it's dogpile because everyone's human at the end of the day, or at least that's what they try to
Mhm.
tell themselves, right? And what they try to
Mhm.
tell people. Um, but that is, as they say, showbiz. So,
Mhm.
yeah, enjoy both
That's
episodes. Yeah,
real life.
yep, yep.
Yeah. So episode 3, I really that really pulled at my heart a lot because it really feels like Trevor and Simon are quite a
Mm-hmm.
very confronting mix of the both of us and just our lives lived. Um I know what it's like to be like the quiet kid, the lonely kid who I'm a latchkey kid, I'm an inside kid, I'm a TV kid. That's why I know so much about everything because I spend a lot of my time by myself
Mm-hmm.
in the house with movies and comic books and video games and music. And, you know, isolated in a way that is half self-isolating, half you're isolated just by nature of others. Um, I also know what it's like to be that person who is around everyone that people just don't know. I won't say. I mean, I can't speak for everyone who I've passed in my life how they felt about me. Like I'd have to get a time machine and ask, right? But I think I was, pretty likable, and at least had a substantial friendships here and there, growing up at least. But I know what it's like to be looked at as like the weird kid of, yeah, just let her sit there and watch that, or just, yeah, those your kid who likes old movie posters, you collect
Mm-hmm.
old movie posters, you like ABBA, what? You read comic books, what? Like, and this truly was before nerds became the real hot shit. Like it was still on that, like you were still looked as weird for liking
Mm-hmm.
comic books. Um and superhero cartoons, right? Even though people were watching them, you were still looked at it as weird. I would say the same thing for anime, but I feel like anime is still very like, oh, you like that? It's still, I feel like with
Yeah.
that, it's still very. I think for some adults, um, who would rather be judgy are just like, oh, you play video games, oh, you watch superhero stuff, and literally always just like, "Oh, you go to sporting events? Oh, you buy shoes?" Like, it's all
Yeah.
the same thing. We're all a nerd about something, honestly. You're no better than me, um, when it comes to how you spend your time and your money. It's all a hobby, it's all a special interest. We all have one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it felt um, to bring Rogue back up. I mean, Rogue is my favorite fictional character of all time in anything. And it's because I relate to her so much. I relate to her on the level of I know what it feels like to be an outsider amongst the outsiders. And I feel like that's the same thing with Simon, right?
Mhm.
He's a black man, the son of immigrants, right? I'm assuming that his father and mother came straight from Haiti to the US. Um and so that is still an other. And
Mhm.
now on top of that other, he now has powers. So it's just othering on top of othering on top of othering. And it can be so isolating and you do feel so different, you know, and it's difficult and a lot of people understand but also don't understand. They just look at you as like, "Oh, you're a little weird." And it it gets a little soul crushing, so you get a little quiet. You hide away. I also feel like though with Simon is where I relate to him is like he like we saw in the first episode, being in the movies with his dad is again that feeling that I related to so much. Just seeing something that connects with you on such like an atomic level, at a cellular level, that it becomes part of who you are. It is your mission in life to do this thing because you're so influenced by it,
Yeah.
because it made you feel alive. And some people don't get that.
Yeah.
Some people will never understand that feeling. And it's part of a societal issue too where artistry and art and being an artist of any sort isn't taken seriously until you're buying someone their house.
Yeah.
Truly. Until you're paying someone else's bills, no one takes what you're doing seriously. Um and I really feel for Simon. It's also coming from like in his life as a black man in this immigrant family, right? The idea of we have to make it, so the pressure of having like a regular job, a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, a salesman, a manager, all those things are what provide for the home.
Mhm.
Anything outside of that is looked at as frivolous, and that's what's in his brother's head. Where his mother is more understanding because, some mothers just see it right away and just like, well, this is what my kid wants to do. His brother is like so conditioned. And I also got to give it to his brother though, as an elder sibling, I'm sure after their father passed, he felt like he had to become the man of the house.
Yeah.
And that's his own pressure, his own things that he has that I'm sure that as a character, but as someone who can relate to that as an older sibling, is a lot to deal with of becoming a second parent to your siblings and also to yourself.
Mhm.
It's a lot of responsibility, and that carries a lot of weight and resentment. I mean, I'll be honest, like I know I carried a lot of that in my 20s. Um and it's it makes you very angry.
Mhm.
Um I look at it though as like I also there's a part of me that also gets him, right? Because if knowing just how the entertainment system works for black and brown people, but for black men too, it's like you haven't gotten a job, you haven't booked a job, you need to be making money.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you don't hold value to society.
Yeah.
I I know that that's also what he's feeling, right? Because that's what society has taught him to feel. That's what society has conditioned him to feel. So it's weighing on him, but he is a dick. It is very much just like as an adult, you are making your own decision not to understand your brother and find connection with your brother,
Yeah.
to put your pressure on that brother. And knowing too that your brother is holding a lot of that too, and not trying to understand him or meet him halfway is a problem. And that's why we get Simon having those panic attacks, because now Simon, as a black man
Mhm.
who's struggling to pursue his passion, has this big secret.
Yeah.
And it's this big secret that could be a danger to him and could be a danger to other people, right?
Yeah.
And it's so heavy. It's so heavy. And to not have that understanding at home and to have someone keep needling you, and you're just, and I know as the
Nonstop.
quiet,
Yeah.
and yeah, being the quiet one, where you're just like, bro, leave me alone, dude, leave me alone, just leave me alone, leave me alone. And then all of a sudden it's your fault for blowing up when you told everyone to leave you the fuck alone.
Yeah.
So these dynamics are very much relatable to me and my life and my journey. I get Simon. I know what it's like having that bubbling feeling underneath and trying to tell people like enough, please just enough, enough, and then they just push you too far and a kitchen island explodes and they look at you like, what the fuck is your problem? It's just like, and then you just gotta walk away. You just got, there's no, and then you just gotta sit in those feelings. But because it's also, there's the asterisk, because Simon is a black man, he can be seen as a danger. And then in this world, with what the DODC is doing, is also putting a target on his back. We know racism exists in this world. The MCU is just a parallel universe to our real world universe, right? So racism and bigotry do exist in this world. We've seen the fallout happen. Like if you watch She-Hulk, if you've watched a little bit, like I have to watch Miss Marvel again, but like we see the effects of that and how that play. I mean, it's part of the crux of what happens in the first Black Panther, right? Between Killmonger and T'Challa and their
Hmm.
conversations. Um, so just by basis of being in this body, so much pressure, perceived pressure is put on him, right? Not perceived pressure. Pressure is put on him because of how people perceive him.
Hmm.
And such a it's such a scary thing. It's such a sad thing to watch. And all he wants to do is act, to live out his passion. And when he says that, like, that when he's talking to Trav, he's like, I see other actors, worse actors than me, get ahead of me and their dumb faces on deadline. I was like, girl, you are preaching to the choir. Um, these are how the sausage is made, and I'm saying that a lot lately in other things, and in this, but like Ecard and I talk about that stuff a lot. That we work really hard. We've worked really hard. We've worked really hard over these years, um, to see people with not as much to give as we've got to give, or don't give as much as we've given to what we do, surpass us over and over and over again, or take our ideas, step on our shoulders, push us down, push us away, and then continue to succeed. It is super relatable. And I love that as the episode is going, that Trev, every time Trevor looks at him, it's that I see you. I I see you. And we get more and more of Trev, someone else who has struggled his life with decisions that he's made, come out to this way where it's like, I did a really big bad fucked up thing. Um and I'm just trying to get my life together. Um and and part of that getting your life together is betraying someone else, but like you said, comes to the conclusion that I'd rather be in jail than to betray my friend at this point. Like, who knows what's going to happen in the next 4 episodes? Obviously,
Hmm.
this is going to be a big thing. All these secrets always comes out like when there's a plot, and that always gets revealed. So we got to see how that works out. But like, you know, I think it's like, I also really do love that every time he gets offered a drink or drinking is involved, that he's like, no, I'm sober now. And then some anecdote about how messy he used to be gets brought up, and it's just like,
Hmm.
and it's such a thing of like, yeah, you're doing a fucked up thing, but like, congratulations, 13 years sober. That's a big deal. Like every
Hmm.
time you said that, I just like, I'm so proud of you. Like, but yeah, it's very interesting, and I love that first bit of episode 3, where they're acting, where they're just monologuing at each other and seeing that connection. in this craft and how passionate they are. It just really fills my heart. It just feels so good to especially watch these two actors acting as actors
Mhm.
and just how good they are. And then you look at it and you go, damn, these are two talented individuals, characters in the show, and it is sad to see that they are not getting their just dues. And I've also been where Simon is, where I've suggested to actor friends and stuff like that, where it's just like, well, if the industry doesn't see you, maybe it's just time you just started doing things on your own. Um, but then I've come to understand that you don't want to have to wear, especially with you all these years, you don't want to have to wear all the hats. You
Mhm.
don't want to have to direct. You don't want to have to be the writer. You don't want to have to be the editor. You just want to do the one thing that you're passionate about.
Mhm.
And why does it need to fall to you that you don't have the skill like the skill sets to learn all these other skill sets, right? And I think that's also a fascinating take, especially since this is a show that's happening after COVID. And what a lot of actors have talked about self tapes, how
Mhm.
self tapes have become so prevalent in the industry, how actors have to become engineers and editors and lighters and mini directors, and they're just like, I just want to act.
Mhm.
I didn't sign up for this job, for this passion, for this craft to do all these other things that I was solely not prepared for now the industry to rely on me to do everything. While you guys still don't hire me and do nothing with what I've got to give. It, it's really this really is a fascinating meta commentary on the state of the industry, and like you said, it's how but I also feel like you mentioned something and to this, like how serious can I take this knowing that this is what Marvel and Disney as a corporation also do to their actors.
Mhm.
And then my whole crash out earlier, specifically what they do to their black and brown actors of color, to their female actors, to their queer actors. How serious can I take this? You know what I mean? I can take it as serious as I know that what the writer and creator is saying, and he's expressing his possible frustrations and how he's viewing the system that he's taking a part in. But I think I've mentioned this in another thing that I watched when it comes to Marvel. Like it's the meta commentary on something that you guys have your hand in, that you
Mhm.
guys can change within the industry. How much do you believe in the product that you're selling?
Yeah.
Um, and then that leads to the doorman incident to Damar, a guy who was happy with his life, and I get that too, right? He's just, I get to talk to people. It's all chill and easy. I don't need anything more. And you stumble upon more, and you're not necessarily ready for that elevation, and no one's really there to help you. So you start coping in other ways. And Damar is a really nice guy, right? From what we could tell in episode 4. Like he's just a real chill dude. And being a real chill dude, sadly, is an expense because when it comes to how people around you treat you, agents, managers, people online, and it's just like, bro, I'm just trying to do the damn thing, and you guys are making me a joke.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to get by and get and live and make that money, but you guys keep making me a joke. And at first it was cute because I was in on it, but now you guys are taking it a little too far. I am more than just this. I had a life before this. And I took this second job because it allowed me more money. It allowed me to be more comfortable. He didn't need to take it, but like again, I get it. 200K, I would have
Mhm.
shook hands with Jay Gad like real quick. Um and it's all fun and games, and it really is just like he had a job he liked, he had another job that he liked, and they're like, and people around him who saw the charisma, who saw that extra spark in him, and was just like, you know what, I want to give you more.
Mhm.
But it's also like you guys keep giving me more, but also not giving me enough, or also damning me for the things that you're giving me. How am I supposed to cope with this?
Mhm.
And then it is also like when you come into a lot of money for some people, how do you manage all that if no one's telling me exactly how to manage all this? Now, he's also an adult. He it is also on him on how to figure out his money. It's the same way I feel of once you get superpowers, it is also your responsibility to figure out how to use them responsibly.
Mhm.
It talked about, I think in the first 2 episodes where it's just like, if you know you have powers and you're not training in a specific way, and you're just hiding them or crushing them or using them frivolously, accidents are going to happen.
Yeah.
If you don't take yourself serious in the body that you have and the special abilities that you have, it's not that other people, yes, other people can get hurt, but you can get hurt too, right? And it's dangerous for yourself. You put yourself in danger when you aren't taking yourself seriously. Um and it's really difficult to watch because again, it's a black man in the system, in the entertainment system, right? Who's lovable and people enjoy, and he did a good thing by saving a lot of people's lives, all for it to semi-spiral, and it's that innocuous spiral, right? And you could see it, like, the drinking just becomes more. And there's nothing wrong with partying, but it becomes you start living a lifestyle because it's just slowly what your life is becoming. And the real hint is when he's asking for ice for the water, and he's just like, "Actually, you know what? I'll just have a drink."
Mhm.
And then you wake up drunk, and then you're drinking to cope, and it's that slow creeping coping mechanism, right? And it's scary as someone who has an addictive personality. It's one of the things for me personally that I'm very aware of, that it can get very easy to be a good-natured person. But when things start to spiral, to cope in ways, and it's just this is how you're coping all the time, even though you're still a good-natured person, and how that can affect you and ruin your life, how it how it can just one time be really, really bad and then it's over. And I think it's also very fascinating that like you said, that the DODC saw everyone saw his powers and also didn't take him seriously. But even when he's exhibiting his powers, I'm like, oh, this power is that's a very that's a very that can be a dangerous thing, just being able to walk in and out. I mean, it's the Kitty Pride thing.
Mhm.
It's, it's you can walk in and out of situations, get, portals and stuff. Who knows where all those other doorways led, right?
Mhm.
So
Yep.
there's a lot could happen with his abilities. Um and but considering that you see the world and you see magic and the fact not that I want the DODC to run up on anybody. I fucking hate the government. And as we could as you pointed out, as the show pointed out, they took him in and they're experimenting on him, and I'm sure that's what they're doing to all the superpowered individuals that they have locked up in that prison, as we know the prison system does, as we know the governments do. It's just like, fuck, this is a very scary thing. And just to see it creeping closer and closer to Simon, who is someone else who hasn't learned how to control his abilities and who's also a black man in the system, it's so scary. It's so scary to watch this shadow creep up on what is such a heartfelt situation happening,
Yeah.
and the growth of Simon Williams. Um and how the powers that be can turn your life on a dime. How they can view you as a threat and take you away without a second thought. Um, and I don't agree. In any situation, I do not agree with any kind of registration, superhero or otherwise, because as we know, especially with what's going on currently here in the in all of the world, your name, your address, I mean, anything being registered in any way is just a danger to us, and in the ways that our governments implement registrations. um I do feel it is up to an individual to figure out their body, their powers, and to work out how to keep themselves safe. But I also know that it's hard. I think the biggest example, again, would to bring it back to Wanda, would be where you are experimented on. You have these abilities now. You are then used as a weapon, and then people that are there to save you lock you away, and then also don't teach you how to use your powers or help circumvent what's going on with you mentally after a lot of bad shit happened to you. And then what do you do with that as an adult carrying all that trauma and then it explodes and hurts other people? I see why they dated. They were like, we're very
Mm.
trauma filled, right? So I think, yeah, this is a very fascinating look. And as for needing the paperwork to say whether you have superpowers or not,
So I just want to add one caveat to that. It's actually the dormant clause. Got to just double check. It is a full-on ban that prohibits individuals with superpowers from acting in films and television, requiring actors to sign affidavits confirming they do not possess any superhuman powers.
that's so I when we start banning people because of who they are, it's a very slippery, dangerous slope. There's a weird contextual thing here where there's a part of me that understands insurance and it's all about money at the end of the day, um, and being a liability. But it really can become, well, it looks like you have an extra finger. That seems like a mutation. You can't work here. Like
Mm.
you know what I mean? It's a very slippery slope. And it again then continues to take people who have abilities to hide and continue to become a danger to themselves because it's like, fuck, if anyone knows, I'm in trouble. I can't go out and live my own life because of what I was born as or what happened to me, like, because uh, Damar touched the goop, right? It's also a cautionary tale. Don't touch goop. Like, please, everyone, stop touching goop. But like, wear gloves. Um, yeah, it is. Like I wear this with pride. I love X-Men. You read enough comics, you know what Civil War was, the actual Civil War in comics. You know what a mutant registration act is. You know a superpowered registration act is. That is something that happened but we also know what actual registrations do to in real world people and what that can lead to. I mean, they're starting to tell us to carry all our documents and even then that doesn't matter. You see, it's a slippery slope. It doesn't matter if they don't want it to matter. Um so I think this is like there's a part of me that feels like maybe I always feel this way when we yap about shows and stuff that maybe I'm thinking too much about it, but it's hard not to when your fiction is a mirror to your reality. Um and it's not like I said, it's not like the MCU is its own thing. It literally is just a parallel world to our in real. Josh Gad exists. Sarah Paulson exists. They keep mentioning American Horror Story. That's stuff that's in our real world. So metatextually, it is just a parallel offshoot of people with superpowers. So it really is just like hard not to connect the dots with what's going on. But I do feel like these stories are important for us to watch and to consume and to talk about and to I feel like fiction, I feel like movies, I feel like TV is a good source to get our brains working and thinking of what is happening, what has happened, and what could be. If we see the worst outcomes in a movie or a TV show, how can we prevent that? Like, how does that affect us, and how do we prevent that from the worst possible situation happening in the real world?
Mm.
Um, yeah. All that to say, I love this show. I think this show is great. Um, I think if we still have 4 episodes left, if Marvel really doesn't go the way of at least giving this a season 2 and just making him a street level hero, um, and keep poking fun at its own hand in the entertainment industry and how the entertainment environment works, um, it's gonna really suck and it's a big like letdown because I think even just how this show is shot, cinematography, directing, sound. the acting, everyone's doing such a good job, and it's so good. I don't want it to just not be anymore, you know?
Mm.
Maybe that'll change by the end of episode 8. I don't think so because everyone's saying it doesn't. It just gets better from here, but yeah.
Oh man, I guess yeah. Only 4 episodes left. About to find out. I'm just hoping it doesn't turn out like Ironheart. Just hoping. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a part of
So
me that's like,
I don't.
you
I
guys can
don't.
watch our Ironheart reactions and Yap sessions. But there was a point halfway through Ironheart where we're just like, "This is great. Oh,
Yeah.
the writing is very weird here." But
Yeah.
everyone else was like, "This is the greatest show since sliced bread," and we're just like, "Is it?
Yeah. Well,
Is
well,
it?
no,
Is it
no. Well,
though?"
yeah. Ironheart had yeah. So I mean, we're at the halfway point. So it's good. It's 100
Yeah,
out of
we are.
100.
Yeah.
So let's see how they stick the landing for the next 4 episodes, folks. With that said, we'll be catch you guys next time. You know.